G'day folks, Jaden Drought here with the Farm Trader magazine, and here we are at the South Island Agricultural Field Days at Kirwee, and we're running the telehandler showcase. That's where we've got telehandlers and trailers, a couple of tractors and moving stuff around to keep the punters happy. But the main thing that we're doing here is checking out the good features of these telehandlers. Now behind me is the New Holland TH7.42 Elite. So what that means, TH stands for telehandler, 7 means 7 metres, and the 42 is 4.2 tonne to that 7 metres. And the Elite, essentially like the tractors, right? So the Elite is their top model. So that's where they throw a few extra features into it, and realistically this is the model that they only really bring into New Zealand with those extra features, which as we go around the machine, you will no doubt keep an eye out. Lots of good features about this machine. One of the first things that you will notice is it's slightly larger than the others. So it's a slightly longer wheelbase, and it's also got slightly bigger tyres. So it's got 570 R24s on this, which is a little bit bigger than the 460s that the others are running. And like I say, that slightly longer wheelbase. So what you lose in turning circle, you make up in stability. There's plenty of other good features about this machine. Let's go and check them out. If we now look around the right hand side at the powerhouse, you'll see that the engine sits along the side of the machine. Now that's unique to this New Holland machine, and it's quite unique in the market as well. So this is the same engine FPT that's in the T6 series tractors. So there's obviously that commonality of parts, which is fantastic for those running a fleet. And as you can see, serviceability is very easy. We've got this nice high front, which is fantastic for that muck and cow mud, obviously from on dairy farms. That means that that doesn't enter the engine bay, which is great. We've got our hydraulic cooling fans here, as the hydraulic motors at the front there. That is 140 litres a minute, the pump. And then we've also got access to our filters around here. This is obviously the main radiator. We've got a hydraulic fan up here, which is reversible. Again, is another feature of the Elite models. And as you can see, it's mounted nice and high, again, out of that dust, and it blows that dust and debris straight up, so it keeps the engine nice and cool. In terms of maximum power, it's 131 horsepower rated, with max horsepower of 146. As you can see around the back here, we've got our larger exhaust mounted on the right hand side. That's because the engine does require AdBlue, so the SCR is there by the exhaust. So the AdBlue filler and the diesel filler up there behind the cab, which is a great location, nice and easy to get to. And then also the main party piece around the back here is the pickup hitch, which is fantastic on these machines, particularly for use around here in the South Island. A lot of cart and bale trailers and bits and bobs picking up, moving stuff around the yards, which is really awesome. So these plug into the rear auxiliary remotes. Obviously you could unplug that, plug a trailer to tip in there, and then you've also got your dual line trailer braking. This one is very easy to use. You just hold the flicker switch in the cab. That means that you're using this function rather than the third and fourth auxiliaries on the boom, and that means that the toggle on the back of the joystick then controls this, and you've just got a nice pull cable down to the right hand side of the seat to unlatch it. Drops down nice and low, scoot along, pick up the trailer, happy days. Around the front here, we've got a couple of different hitch options from factory. This particular one has the Manitou hitch, however the JCB Q-Fit hitch is also available. And another unique feature around the front here is this curved main boom end. What that does is means that feed can't get stuck on here. It also keeps that added strength in the end of it, and what also is another good feature is when you're loading into sheds, this is the highest part, right? So you don't have another knuckle that kind of sticks out and moves as you're moving the boom in and out, so that's a cool feature. As I mentioned around the back, this has got third and fourth function on this machine, so a little diverter there for third or fourth function from in the cab. However, you've still got your main tap here, which is a nice safety feature for your hydraulic latching and unlatching. So again, in the cab, hydraulic latching, you can come out and turn the tap if you want to, you don't have to, and that's just a nice little feature to save the attachments falling off. Back on the machine itself, we've got these wipers here, which I think is actually a really good option. So this again is part of the Elite model. We've got these wipers which just keep that dust and debris out. You know, these booms need to be greased, right, because they are a moving, wearing part. However, that just stops a lot of that excess dust getting in there and turning it into sandpaper, so that's great. This machine has front and rear differentials, so that's good when the going gets tough. And as you can see externally, there's plenty of mirrors and plenty of lights. They're all LED lights, and there's actually quite a cool one down the other side which shines back towards the back of the machine, and at night allows those mirrors to actually work and be able to see what's happening down the side of the machine. So another cool feature. Up in the cab here, as you can see, there's plenty of room. Down on my right hand side, again, as I mentioned earlier, that slightly long wheelbase of the New Holland model. This allows this right hand window to be nice and big, which as people will know, in a telehandler is where your view is obstructed the most. In terms of, I guess, room in here, I'm a big guy and I feel like I've got plenty of room. This is the only machine here that has a left-hand forward reverse shuttle, which personally I like. I think there's that familiarity out of the tractors, which I think for a fleet machine where people are jumping in and out of models and tractors all of the time is a nice little function. You've also got forward reverse on the joystick over here if you want that. That means that instead of on the back of the joystick, then you have the main one, the main toggle on the inside of you does the boom, and the outside does your third, fourth functions or your hydraulic hitch. Like I said, you can divert them from these little switches down here. In terms of the transmission itself, it's actually got a torque converter, so it's a 6 forward speed, 3 reverse speed. You've got manual, semi-auto and then full auto are the 3 functions that you have. And then, like I mentioned earlier, your quick hitch or rear drop hitch is down the back here, and your aircon's mounted down on the right-hand console down here. Another unique feature about the aircon itself is a lot of the vents are all up here, so what they do is actually bring their air up through the cab over this way to keep the operator nice and cool. And instead of dragging all of that dust from the back of the machine with the filters are actually located down in front of the cab here. In terms of other cool little features, there's a pressure release button down above the front mudguard, so that's when you are changing attachments, you can push that, hold it in, and that's going to release the pressure. You've also got these main safety bars over the top here, which are removable, but between that and the bigger cab, visibility in here is excellent. If we now look at the top 5 reasons why you should consider the TH7.42 Elite from New Holland, for me it starts in the cab. I personally like the left-hand shuttle. You've got the left and right-hand options. I think that familiarity between tractors is something that operators will appreciate. If we then move to the right-hand side of the machine, where the next 2 features that I think have to be in the top 5 are. First, we've got that longitudinal engine, right? So it sits there, that means that the right-hand side doesn't have to be as wide because the engine is lengthways. You also have great access to those serviceable parts. The second reason why that's a great feature is that the serviceable parts are in very good supply because it also is in the T6 series tractors. So you've got familiarity of parts and easy access and serviceability also with those 2 doors that open up nice and wide, as well as the main gull wing door. If we then go to the next feature, which I think is worth noting, it's the air conditioning. Not only is the filter in the front here, so that means that it's not sucking dust from the back of the machine, it also keeps the cab nice and cool. The 5th reason why I think you should look at the New Holland telehandler is because of the hydraulic output. Not only does it have the 140 litre a minute pump, but we've also got hydraulic latching, we've got hitch options, we've got 3rd and 4th function out the front, we've got our hydraulic release feature here, and then we've got our trailer remotes at the back as well as the pickup hitch. It's got the dual line trailer braking function, and all round lighting and mirrors keep it nice and safe and make sure that you can see all around the machine both day and night. If you want to check out a more in-depth review of this machine and the others in the Telehandler Showcase, check out the winter magazine of the Farm Trader. It's coming out early June, just before the field days, and head to farmtrader.co.nz to see the videos of this machine as well as all of the others in the showcase, and keep an eye on the socials.